now it is my extreme pleasure to bring on our next guest from Oblong, President and CEO, Peter Holst.
Good morning, Neil. Thanks for having me this morning.
Hey, it's my pleasure. How are you, Pete?
Appreciate it. Doing real well, thanks.
Great to hear.
Following your polling and chat sessions, pretty hilarious.
Well, we try to keep it engaging. Yeah, we keep it light. Yeah,
engaging. That's a pretty good segue into our business model, actually. So nice job.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So tell me a little bit about your business and what you're doing there.
Sure. Yeah, and we have a slide deck here. I'm not sure if you want me to start with the slide deck or give you a little preamble. Either way.
Let's do preamble, slide deck.
Sure. So Oblong is in the business of user engagement, right? Maximizing user engagement in virtual meeting environments. And so today, especially today, we all live in this very peculiar world, right? That is, we're all at home, at least until the CDC guidelines changed last night. Mm-hmm. And we've all been Zoomified or WebExed or Microsoft to death in virtual meetings. And as you know, a lot of people, when they get in those sessions, they go on mute and then they click off their video, and then you systematically lose engagement. So unless you have somebody like yourself who is focused on optimizing user engagement because they're an engaging person, most meetings are generally kind of boring, right? And a lot of people check out. What Oblong does is it takes those virtual experiences and breaks them into individual streams. And so Zoom would be a stream, and then you could add Benzinga as a content stream, and then maybe a whole bunch of other live streams. And we allow people to change your computer or your dashboard or your large screens into one giant virtual screen where you can have a lot of data running simultaneously across your entire landscape. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it allows everyone to participate in a session, as opposed to having one person tell everyone about a specific piece of information. And then we can all collaborate, make decisions faster, and create outcomes faster.
Peter, I think I get it, but I want to see it. So I'm hoping to get a preview of that in your presentation.
Sure, you bet. And a great way to think about our business, by the way, is if you're a sci-fi fan, and if you remember the movie Minority Report,
yes,
the technology that Oblong was built on, essentially, yes, taking all that content and moving it around real time, that's what Oblong was founded on, that technology.
So, all right, I'm convinced.
There you go.
All right,
do you want me to fire up the prezo?
Yeah, I would love to.
All right, here we go. So here's the sort of perfunctory safe harbor statement. I won't trouble everyone by reading it today. Give everyone just a quick glance of what Oblong does. As I just told Neil, we maximize engagement in day-to-day virtual meetings through technology. It accelerates decision-making, improves communication, and increases productivity. So here are some of the things we're focused on now, just so everybody gets a perspective of the company. We're in the process of now monetizing key partnerships. We're substantially ramping our bookings from global distribution channels, including our largest with Cisco Systems. We have a pretty experienced leadership team. Many of us have been in technology for decades in some cases. We have about 50 employees, so we're still a relatively small company, but as you might imagine, for a technology business, the majority of our staff are in software engineering and product design. We have a pretty comprehensive suite for a relatively young company. We have a digital collaboration platform. It can be sold as a delivered system into conferencing rooms or executive briefing centers. And we're migrating that product mix now over to a cloud-based service over the next 24 months. We have a pretty broad customer base. We have established relationships with many Fortune 500 companies where we've done proof of concepts and professional services engagements over the years. And our current snapshot, at least as of last night, we have about 26 million shares outstanding, $100 million market cap. Our revenue in 2020 was about 15 million, and our ticker symbol is OBLG. Just to give a sense of vision and what I was chatting with Neil about, here's just a quote from a pretty well-known gentleman at TechCrunch and Google Ventures, really talking about how technology evolves and crops up, and his view of our technology when he first experienced it was pretty revolutionary. And what mezzanine is, and this gives you a kind of a virtual representation of it, it's a scalable collaboration system that can go into extremely large environments, large executive briefing centers and big war room environments, all the way down to compact spaces like your laptop. And today, hundreds of deployments have been done around the world across many Fortune 500 companies. You can see, again, a representation of what it is up there. We can come across different TVs. In terms of our content representation, we can show 7, 8 different streams of content at once. Here's just a representation of some of our customers today that have used Oblong products both in the past and currently. And here's sort of the 3 principles, right? You can decide, you can make decisions faster, essentially, using all of your data. And so whether you get into a nice fancy conference room or whether you're working off your laptop at home, you want to maximize engagement. And the way to maximize engagement is to collaborate. And the definition of collaboration means multiple people engaging at once. And as I just described, today's meeting environment is generally set up as a one to few or one to many talking about a very specific piece of content. So our product is really focused on people on the early stages of a product cycle. So they're all getting together and building a product at once. They all have something to share, right? And so they all want to bring that content into one landscape simultaneously. Where we're headed here in the next few years, we're going beyond the conference room. So our history is in big room environments, doing big proof of concepts, doing some Hollywood movies as well along the way, but taking all that intellectual property and moving that now into the remote world as we do a complete shift to hybrid working. And how that hybrid working is going to look like in the future will be some composition of people coming back and forth to an office. Some people will be full-time, part-time in an office. Some people will choose to stay at home forever. So we want to make sure we touch all of those different theaters along the way. I talked a little bit about IP earlier. The company has over 100 million now invested in technology focused on engagement. We're the only provider that delivers a collaboration experience using multiple streams of content and connecting simultaneous locations geographically dispersed all at once. We have a lot of technology in spatial computing. And what that really means is, concepts that you might see in gaming today, right? AR, VR, multiple display, using gestures, touching content and moving it around. We've developed a wand, effectively, which looks like a remote control, which you put in your hand that allows you to grab content, expand it, contract it, move it from system to system. And the whole goal is to get the human being to interact with information in a much more intimate way than it has in the past. We believe content is ultimately the new disruptor. If you look back 40 years, you look at sort of the evolution of how people have connected. They did it over the phone, then they did it with some very early stage internet-based communications. So Microsoft and WebEx were at the forefront of that. A number of other people piled into that space in the following 10 years. Zoom kind of reinvented the model in the last 5 years by delivering video as part of that app, as part of that ecosystem that is now pretty seamless and easy to use. And we believe our platform and the way we're distributing content and how we're engaging people is the next frontier, the next generation of how collaboration is going to work. Here's a general collaboration landscape. You see a lot of familiar names up there. There's many people that focus on the video stream. There's many people that focus on getting into a conference room today and being able to digitally display things in real time. But there's not a lot of folks out there that really do all of those things and do it over sort of a geographic sort of dispersed environment. Pretty obvious here. In the last 12 months, the market has grown pretty dramatically as everyone has had to work from home. The user base has gone up just incredibly exponentially at this stage. And now the business use of video conferencing and collaboration is pretty much pervasive, right? We probably have over 1 billion users, whereas, probably 13, 14 months ago, it was probably 1/5 of that. And so many people have had to learn how to use this technology. They've become familiar with it, and they're really looking for what the next step is because they've got a lot of fatigue, right, as a result of using some of these tools. Our technology, we believe, significantly expands the existing addressable market. So we believe just the virtual meeting space and the content distribution space, which is growing rapidly, is part of a broader ecosystem that is enterprise collaboration. We believe there's 500 million participants right now in the virtual meeting space. We believe there's 100 to 200,000 conference rooms out there that where Oblong's roots are, We're moving obviously up into the remote participant section, but we believe there's a big addressable market for Oblong moving forward. We've partnered with Cisco for the last couple of years to build and design and co-develop some interesting solutions, particularly in the conference room specifically. We've been a partner there since 2019. Obviously, with the pandemic, there hasn't been a lot of activity in conference rooms, in business conference rooms, but certainly the notion of reopening is upon us right now. In terms of Cisco collaboration, by the numbers, as you might guess, from a partner perspective, 95% of the Fortune 500 use Cisco. WebEx is a well-known, well-established enterprise class collaboration solution, and we believe our pipeline is extremely strong with Cisco right now. And in terms of pipeline, our focus right now, as you think about these three quadrants, we've got an on-premise solution, which is a hardware-based solution with our software loaded on it. We've long sold that for many years. We're migrating that to cloud, and we believe this is kind of where our pipeline is going to evolve based on demand. And our ultimate goal is to move the business from a sort of a classic one-time revenue model with some maintenance and annual recurring software to a full annual recurring revenue business over the next 2 to 3 years. So again, I just sort of spoke to this, but our hardware model has been delivered historically. We're now building technology based on customer validation. We just released a few weeks ago our first very early version of our cloud service, so we're pretty excited about that. Ultimately, we're evolving that to a mezzanine cloud. We believe a mezzanine app will be right behind that. And then we believe, artificial intelligence and machine learning in everything will be pervasive here in the next few years, and will certainly be part of that ecosystem. Just lastly, some of our investment highlights, we're poised to grow incredibly in the next few years, especially as the business market reopens and people return to work. So we have a pretty big addressable market right now. We have a global distribution with Cisco. We're obviously looking for other channels as well, and have some great things going on there. We're building a software as a service offering, and a full beta will be available here shortly. And we believe there's 10x growth anticipated from our cloud revenue in the next 3 to 4 years. We'll head towards a gross margin that is going to be in the 60s. Obviously, the cloud service will be higher than that, but we'll live in both worlds, sort of a hybrid cloud, if you will. And we're executing on the business. We've done a tremendous amount in the last 18 months, in spite of the pandemic, to capitalize the business properly, put the right people in the right places, and we've really started to rehire substantially now, particularly in software engineering and the sales area. So that's us in a nutshell, Neil, and really appreciate the time today.
Really, really cool stuff. Where can folks go now to learn more about what you're doing? Yeah, go to oblong.com. We have a number of videos on the site with a lot of use cases, right? You'll see a little reference there to Minority Report and some of the things the founders have done in the past in the Marvel movies, particularly. But you'll also see some live business use cases, like business to business use cases from a number of our larger customers. We've done a lot of work with IBM. We've done a lot of work with some of the military. Obviously, you can't see some of that stuff because it's proprietary, but there's probably 10 or 15 videos on the site where you can see how people really interact with data live, and you'll see how fundamentally different the technology we use and how it really just enhances what you do with the Zooms and the Microsofts of the world. Really amazing stuff. Are you able to touch on any key partnerships? Well, I touched on the big one. We've had a partnership with Cisco, which has been both a distribution and a development partnership. We have a couple of really cool ones coming up soon here in the next few months that we'll release shortly, that we're really excited about. But we partner with a lot of global system integrators, folks in the IT services chain, broadly speaking, not just in the United States, but globally. But Cisco is certainly our biggest partner and certainly the most exciting one. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. So when was that announced, by the way? Which one? Sorry, Cisco? The Cisco partnership. When did you do that press release? We probably announced that a couple of years ago at this point. Yeah, and it's been mostly development. So you announce the partnership and then you put your head down and start writing code, right? So that you can integrate things in a more meaningful way. And a lot of that has just kind of come together here in the last 6 months. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a pretty diverse group here of institutional investors and retail investors.
Sure.
If there's anything that you'd like to leave folks with from an investment perspective, what do you think is one nugget that you'd like folks to walk away with?
Sure. I always think, the company is 17 years old, right? And so it's gone through sort of that classic venture cycle. A lot of venture capital has been poured into this company by some pretty smart investors. And the mission now is to take all that IP and really monetize it. And so the company's roots are really in research and development and really doing some pretty cool proof of concepts. If you've seen some of the stuff that the company's built for some pretty well-known, companies in America, kind of behind the wall, if you will, it's pretty fascinating stuff how they've used our technology. I mean, if you look at even what Saudi Aramco has done, like the biggest oil producer in the world, they've used Oblong's technology to build one of the most interesting three-dimensional oil mapping systems on the planet.
Wow.
So a lot of that stuff is high-end, super expensive to build, right? You have a big checkbook.
Yeah.
And what we're doing now is taking all that institutional knowledge and now putting it in a wrapper and in the cloud environment where people can consume it day to day. And we're moving from, like I said, this sort of big, sort of high-end room model down to the individual user. Obviously, the market opportunity for the company is the millions and millions, probably now billions of users that now use the day-to-day meeting technologies that we've all become accustomed to. We're not there to replace what those folks have built. They've done a fantastic job of building them. We're there to dramatically enhance them, right? Our mission is, as a guy who's been in this industry for 20 years and pretty much seen it all, I have seen user engagement drop kind of systematically in all these systems over time because it's join, mute, disconnect on video, and multitask, right? That's kind of what happens broadly speaking. And so the way to stop that from happening is get your small work groups engaged, get people live and sharing content, and then actually the word collaboration becomes what its true intent was, which is let's talk, right? Let's all get together and build things. We have a great customer at Lockheed Martin today. They use Oblong to design their missile systems, to design their space systems, right? So everybody shows up with a different piece of the equation, and they compile it all together raw and live in real time. I mean, it's fascinating stuff. And we're at the front end of our life cycle. We haven't even built our cloud service fully at all yet. So the opportunity for us is really in front of us here over the next couple of years. And I think that's what I'd like to leave institutional investors with is there's an evolution that's happened in this space. I've personally gone through it for the last 20 years and seen every bit of the cycle. And I firmly believe that content is the next frontier. And the company that's best positioned to do content sharing in a fundamentally different way is Oblong.
Beautifully said. Top marks for the pitch. I'm absolutely sold. I just wanted to ask one more question since we have about 2 more minutes here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned we saw the rise of video communication as a necessity in the workplace, driven by the constraints that resulted from COVID-19 in the summer of 2020. Some might say that was a completely new thing, and then others have said that was an acceleration of pre-existing trends. What is sort of your take on the two? Do you see sort of these trends tapering down and us going into sort of a hybrid workplace type of thing, or are you more on the side of things have changed radically just forever and they were already happening, and this was just the shot in the arm?
Yeah, the answer is both, and which is sort of a hedgy answer. But the truth of the matter is, we have been on a slow, gradual migration path for the last 20 years as the advent of the internet has expanded and bandwidth has gotten better. Computing has gotten better, engagement has gotten better, and gaming has been a big part of that, by the way. But the truth of the matter is, yes, did COVID accelerate a trend that was already slowly in motion? No question about it. It radically accelerated it.
Yep.
And so it's now opened up a little bit of Pandora's box. there's not a company on the planet right now, Neil, that isn't looking at their commercial real estate footprint going, how much office space do I really need? When am I going to know the answer to that question? The only answer is, well, I'm going to invite people back to work in the next 6 to 12 months. I'm going to reopen effectively, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to see, right? I'm going to wait and see who comes, who goes, what the traffic patterns look like. And when they come back to the office, where do they come to? Do they go to an office? You're not going to, like, are you going to drive into New York City anymore for like an hour or take the train to spend 2 hours to go to your office? You're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. So that's a shift. That's a fundamental shift that's not going away ever. Are you going to come because you want to collaborate with your friends and your coworkers, and you want to do it in a conference room that is super digitally engaging? I might come to the office for that, for sure, right? That's an experience that I might come for, but I'm not coming back to go sit in my cubicle anymore. Those days are done. So
wow. All right, fantastic. Mr. Holst, thank you so much. Oblong.com. The site is up there. Check out the stock, OBLG. Peter, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate it.